Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to How Did They Do That Live for December. It's our last one of 2021, and I'm so excited. We have a great presentation for you today. As you guys might be aware, all of our How Did They Do That Live presentations this year are aligning to ESRI standards, and just the way that the calendar worked out and some different things, we actually need to cover 3 standards in one presentation today. So we have lots that we're going to go over. The 3 standards that we're going to cover are computational thinker, innovative designer, and creative communicator. And we have 3 different fabulous presenters to go over that content with you. I do apologize for the link issue this morning. I did send out another one, and hopefully, well, you guys are all here waiting, so hopefully it's all good now. If you do have questions throughout the presentation, we encourage them. This is a live event, so it's not going to be just a back and forth chat, but there is a Q&A button up in the top corner. You can click on that Q&A, post your question, and then either Armando or one of our fabulous presenters will reply to that, and we can publish that so that the rest of the audience can see that as well. And then we will talk about attendance at the end. So if you are curious how to get credit for today, please stay the entire hour so we can make sure you get the information for attendance at the end. All right, these are our presenters for today. So up first is going to be Libido, the district STEAM coordinator, and they will be talking about microbits and again, aligning to that computational thinker standard. Our second presenter will be Joel, and he is the Senior Customer Success Manager with Libido, and the content he's going to be talking about will align with Creative Communicator. And then we will wrap up with our Innovative Designer standard with Kylie from ArcGIS, which is a mapping tool that takes all the amazing power of something like Google Maps and then just adds so much more that you can do with it. And there's some great content that's basically ready to go for you guys to use. And then at the end, we'll have Q&A. We'll go over all the housekeeping stuff with the attendance, and we'll talk about all the upcoming How Do They Do That sessions for the start of 2022. All right, I don't want to take too much longer because we're kind of a little bit behind, so we will go ahead and get started with our first standard, computational thinker. And just to quickly go over this, the computational thinker standard from ESRI basically says that students will develop and employ strategies for understanding and solving problems in ways that leverage the power of technological methods to develop and test solutions. So, you can start from everything as, little tiny kindergartners designing little robots to very advanced computations and problem solving for like your AP students. This is not necessarily a grade level standard. This is just the type of thinking and how to use technology to help you solve your problems. There's some guiding questions that you can always ask yourself with this standard to make sure that your instructional teaching is kind of living up to this. And these are some of the guiding questions here. We're not going to go over these right now because, again, I want to save the bulk of the time for the vendors and the presenters, but you will be getting a copy of this PowerPoint that I'm using, and I will make sure to curate all the resources from the presenters as well and get those over to you. So without further ado, I'm happy to introduce Libido, our district STEAM coordinator, and they're going to be presenting microbits. Take it away, Libido.
Awesome. Hopefully everyone can hear me this time. Can I post a link to the slideshow in the chat? Does everyone see the chat?
If you go to the Q&A and hit make announcement, then you can post it there.
Sweet. I thought I would save everyone some time.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So just to confirm, everyone can see my slideshow, yeah?
Yes, looks good.
Perfect. Let me just make the announcement real fast. All right, folks. So here is the link to the slideshow presentation. Let me shut off my camera. All right. So today I'm going to talk to you all about microbits. I know that some of you have already used it. For those of you, I hope I can introduce a few new features that maybe you were not aware of. And for those of you who maybe have no idea what it is, I hope this will inspire you to perhaps give it a shot. So, all right, well, what is microbit? Microbit is basically a tiny little computer that students can use block programming or other types of programming languages to help it solve a problem. Now, as you can see from my 2 examples, it can be anywhere from I press a button and something happens, all the way up to literally using it to make a robot. So even though it looks small, even though it looks simple, based on the creativity and the abilities of the students, they can actually use it to create some pretty complicated looking projects. The current version is version 2. And this has added a few new things that were not there in the older version. So some of you who have been using MicroBits for a little bit, maybe you would be interested in upgrading. A few new features that weren't there before are a microphone is now there, meaning that if your student says something or like makes a sound, the MicroBit can now react. And the other one is the logo has been turned into a touch sensor. So if they touch it or they leave it there and they hold it, they can actually use that as a new kind of input so that the MicroBit has more information and can react to it as well. So just so you guys know, they have updated the MicroBit to version 2. So if it has a microphone, you are at the latest version. The nice thing is if after my presentation, you're thinking, wow, MicroBit sounds super cool, but I have no class funding left to buy it and they're all out of stock. What do I do? You can actually go to makecode.microbit.org, which by the way is a link, and you can use the simulated MicroBit in order to test out code and get right into MicroBits. So if after today's presentation you want to get onto this ASAP, you totally can. It is free. I believe you can even start making code without making an account. So if you link your students to it, they can hop right into doing an activity. And there are plenty of tutorials. So maybe if you want, you can test out the simulator, see if it's something that integrates well with your students, and then consider buying the hardware. But they have made it easy for you to test things out. For those of you who are interested in teaching your students any kind of programming, they have given you a range of different options. So if you are an elementary school teacher, maybe block programming is more of what you would be interested in. And that basically means drag and drop different bits of code, but in a way that makes sense visually and oftentimes makes sense linguistically with how they label the blocks. But what's interesting with the way they have make code set up is your students could make something using block codes, and then just by clicking the options along the top, it will convert what they made in the block code automatically to JavaScript and Python, and they can go back and forth. So it does not do anything to the code. It doesn't mess it up. They're not going to have any issues. So sometimes what happens in like an early programming assignment is they'll start with blocks and we'll flip back and forth just to kind of get a feel for the JavaScript language, a feel for the Python language. So it kind of opens it up. And for those of you who might be teaching elementary school, you will be happy to hear that the CLTs will actually be using MicroBit in their classes as well. So if this seems like something you're interested in, your students will be learning how to do it, assuming they're 3rd through 6th. So if you want, you can then use this with your students in your regular classroom as well. MicroBit right out of the box has a number of different sensors that you can kind of play with. You can shake it. It has the ability to read temperature. You can actually tilt it and it can tell how it's being tilted. But other parties have actually come in and created a ton of add-ons to the MicroBit. So you've got motors, you have buzzers, you have soil moisture sensors. So you can basically turn this little tiny computer into a bunch of different equipment. And what's kind of cool is you can have your students either program their own, or if you provide the code for them, they can actually turn their MicroBit into a ton of different science equipment. For example, here's how I've done it in my classroom before is I would give them the MicroBit file. They would download it onto the MicroBit, which is literally just drag and drop. And then their MicroBit has now turned into a motor. So it's as easy as that. They're really small, easy to store. So instead of buying a million different kinds of equipment, maybe just buying some add-ons to the MicroBit could be a way to go. For those of you who have maybe gotten really into technology, either thanks to COVID or before then, we have this concept of app smashing, which essentially just means you try to use multiple apps in tandem. MicroBit actually works with a number of other platforms. And today I'm going to show you two major players. The first one is Scratch, which is basically a block programming platform put together by a group at MIT. It is totally free. Your students can hop in and program without an account, or they can make an account. And what they've done is they've actually allowed Scratch to turn your MicroBit essentially into a controller. So students are able to make games, and the MicroBit then becomes the input. So in this example, they made a little simple game. So as they're twitching the MicroBit, because again, it has a gyroscope, it's able to tell when it's being tilted. The little bug on screen will also hop around. The other one, perhaps for the older students, is it actually has integration with Tinkercad. So they have basically a ton of pre-made digital circuits that students can use this simulated MicroBit in order to learn about resistors, capacitors, how does the electricity flow from a pin to another. And you know what? When you're in Tinkercad already, you might as well be 3D printing some stuff as well. So MicroBit is great. It already comes with a lot of pre-integration. So depending on what your students are into, whether it's more on the artistic side with animations and video game making, or more of the technical side with circuits and electricity and 3D printing, it has a pretty wide range of use. So from the teacher's perspective, this may sound well and great, but finding time to make all these lessons can be pretty difficult. But you'll be happy to hear that MicroBit themselves has actually put together a number of pre-made lessons and activities that do span quite a few disciplines. Here are just two that I thought were really interesting. So the first one is about nature and the artistic side of it. So it does include more away from the computer thing. So specifically for nature art, the whole first lesson is get them out of the classroom, have them walk around, have them making sketches of leaves that they see, of flowers that they see. And then what the lesson helps them understand is, how do I take something so complicated and then abstract it to something that I can show with only 25 LEDs. So this is kind of a nice way to bridge the away from the computer, that offline mode, and then bring it back to something that they could do digitally. And it helps teach them this concept of abstraction. What is the important part that you want to go from the natural world to the digital world? And then you have a number of biology ones as well, teaching about diversity. So this is kind of a nice integration. You may notice that it makes references to standards in England. That is because MicroBit was backed by the BBC. So just one drawback is that all of the lessons are aligned to their standards. So you're not going to really see NGSS standards on our end, but they're pretty easy to align. So in addition to lessons, so say you're not really wanting to do a ton of lessons, but you are interested in maybe using this as a singular project, they also have a number of pre-made projects as well. Oh, I'm going to pause real fast. All this text that is in blue and underlined, those are actually links right to the pages that you're seeing. So if you're following along or you want to come back later and take a look, all of those are links. So there are kind of two sides of the projects that they have. One of them is to learn about programming itself. So you can create a rock, paper, scissors game. You can have it react to a number of inputs, like yelling at it, shaking it, tilting it, teaching you how to make it react to the inputs you're giving it. So inputs, outputs. However, they have also put some projects together that really help students take a more global perspective of things. It gives projects kind of guiding them towards solving real world problems. And this is a great way to start getting them thinking less in terms of just programming, but involving their more creative sides, encouraging collaboration, encouraging research. So it kind of spans quite a little bit. Yeah, code blocks with Tinkercad. Good stuff. A lot of good PD. So if you want to sign up, just saying. All right, so that has been just sort of a general overview of the different kinds of things that are at your disposal when it comes to MicroBit. So just kind of to review it, there's a lot of pre-made lessons, a lot of pre-made projects that span a pretty hefty sort of or expansive list of topics, anywhere from art to the hard sciences. It spans everything. MicroBit can be used to form equipment that either the students make or that you provide code for. It has a number of accessories that will totally open up the field of possibilities. And it can really help your students tackle real world problems as well. So getting them thinking outside of the classroom and away from the computer. All right, so that has basically been your overview. My name is Libido. So if you want to email me, if you have an interest in using MicroBit in your own classrooms, but maybe you're not quite sure how to do that, I am a wealth of creative energy, and I would be more than happy to help you with that. Did we want to do Q&A now for the MicroBit or wait?
I haven't seen any questions coming in the chat. So if you guys do have questions, definitely post them in the Q&A. Libido and Armando will keep an eye on those questions and answer them. And then if there's any big ones that we need to go over, we can go over those at the end.
And this slideshow will get sent out to you, and my email is on the front. So if at any point you have a MicroBit related question, just send it my way and I'd be more than happy to work with you.
Perfect. Thank you, Libido. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take back over to introduce our next standard. And our next standard is going to be Creative Communicator. And the Creative Communicator standard teaches students to communicate clearly and express themselves creatively for a variety of purposes using the platform tools, styles, formats, and digital media appropriate for their goals. So this can be everything from, your students creating their very first slideshow to present on a topic, to creating a very complex and intricate video project, kind of, to answer a question or to present some sort of creative content. And we just so happen to have WeVideo, and WeVideo is a fantastic tool because it makes video creation super streamlined and easy. You can do really basic videos with your younger students, or you can do really complex projects with it as well. It really adapts to the user quite well. When thinking about the Creative Communicator standard, there are again some guiding questions that you can ask. And again, we're not going to go over these just to honor the time there. But those questions will help you understand how your students are approaching the technology and how they are communicating creatively with it. All right, with that being said, I'll go ahead and introduce our presenter for WeVideo. Joel Ramirez is the Senior Customer Success Manager with WeVideo, and he's going to share a little bit about WeVideo with you. So Joel, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Again, yes, my name is Joel. I've been with WeVideo for almost 6 years now. Happy to be here. I want to start quickly here just by sharing my screen so we can go over a few things here. If we have time towards the end, and that's probably a big if, I'll also showcase the platform itself, but we'll see depending on time. Now, let me quickly, again, start by sharing my screen so we can get going here. 1 second. Okay, so I believe everything should be sharing now. If someone can just confirm with me.
Yes, looks good. And I'm sorry about your pronunciation, Joel.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Your screen looks good.
All right, great. Okay, so now before we actually dive into sort of, how you can use WeVideo in your everyday, teachings, every day in school, I want to just quickly give a brief overview about what WeVideo is, who we are, in case we have folks here that maybe haven't used it yet or maybe don't know too much about it just yet. So at its core, WeVideo is a content creating solution for schools. We are in the cloud, which means you can use WeVideo across, multiple devices. So it really doesn't matter what your students may be on, whether it's a Chromebook, a MacBook, a PC. We also have apps for, your devices. Students will be able to access their content. And the advantage here of being in the cloud is that it's not going to live on any one device, right? So they can use it at school. If they don't get to take their Chromebooks home, they can jump on their PC at home and continue using and accessing their platform on the go. Throughout the last couple of months, we've been developing the platform further. And I do want to quickly share that we also have the ability now for team projects. We've recently introduced the real-time collaboration feature, which allows users to edit in real time together. Think of this like a Google, page or Google slide deck. Users can jump in the editor together as a team, as a pair, and produce content working together and refining those skills. So there is tons to see, tons to do with the features that we give you, along with all of the editing side that I'll talk about here as well. Now, when we are thinking about creative communication, I really do think WeVideo is a great tool. I want to quickly cover a few idea projects that teachers may want to implement when they are working with students. One of the barriers that we see here and there when teachers are getting started is, although teachers may be excited about using WeVideo, they're not sure how to introduce it or integrate it into their classroom, right? So I want to give just a few examples here and then talk a little bit about other resources that we have available that are going to help you not only get started with WeVideo, but also, present it for whenever you do want to do, creative projects, communicating projects, that sort of thing. So the first thing I want to cover here is our screencasting option. Now, for those who don't know what screencasting is, that's the ability to record your screen via, in this case, the WeVideo platform. So you can record your screen, you can record yourself with your webcam, or you can do both simultaneously here. And of course, when you do a project around screencasting, your students are going to get the ability to, of course, share their thoughts, share their ideas, and more importantly, showcase their work, right? So here I have an example of a student who can showcase, for example, their thought process when figuring out a math problem. So you can, via the recording, record your voice, talk through the problem, showcase your work, and ultimately get to your answer. So it really gives a student the ability to showcase what they've been learning, showcase their process, and in times, if a teacher is interested, gives the student the ability to flip the classroom so that students can take the lead. They're the ones leading the discussion, showcasing, their work or possibly talking about a specific topic. Now, I do want to mention that we do have a Google extension for our screencasting tool. The tool itself is available within the standard WeVideo platform, but last year we brought up this extension or introduced this extension, which of course lives in your Google Chrome extension section, and it works as a quick recorder. So anytime you need to quickly record yourself or your screen, you don't have to jump into WeVideo. You can quickly go to the extension, record yourself, publish your video as is, or take advantage of your WeVideo account by transferring it over and then taking full advantage of our editing features. Now, I do have an example of this particular video. I'm not going to show it here. It's quite a lengthy video, about 8 minutes or so. But I did put some resources, some links to this video and others that I'll share today. So if anyone is interested in maybe, seeing this video live, getting more of an insight into how you can use screencasting, I definitely invite you all to check that out. And again, I did provide this link and others in the main deck. Now, moving on from screencasting, and again, to give sort of those other ideas here for educators, general digital storytelling is going to be a major win here with WeVideo. Of course, we are a video editing platform, so doing things like personal narratives, documentaries, PSAs, or other storytelling projects is going to be quite simple and easy within the platform. Of course, you just have to record yourself, bring it to the platform, and you're ready to go. So using WeVideo, you get to take your projects maybe beyond that paper and pencil that your students may be used to, maybe take it beyond the PowerPoint presentation that they're used to, and giving them a little more creative control in the way they present their ideas and their general messages. So of course, they're going to be able to share stories. They're going to be able to take these stories to the next level, right? They can work on their audio. They can use our media library. There's tons of features like green screen, picture-in-picture, transitions, everything you would imagine within a video platform that your users will be able to take advantage to take those stories to the next level. Now, I want to quickly showcase a video. It's about 40 seconds long, just to show how a student would be able to, take a message maybe around a book and transform it not only to deliver the message more creatively, but also to create some excitement around, a story they may be presenting or reading or, talking about in class. So I hope that you're able to listen to this on your end. I did share my computer screen, so I'm hoping when I play the video, you'll be able to see it. And what I really also want to showcase here too is the tool, what the tool gives you, right? So beyond just sort of putting together a quick recording of yourself, you'll be able to take that to the next level. So you'll see here some cool effects that you're going to be able to take advantage of in WeVideo. I think this does a great job showcasing some of that. So I'll play this here. Again, I do have this linked in the resource page. So if for whatever reason it doesn't work here, you can always watch it there as well. But I did link my audio, so it should work.
Hey, Mr. Jack.
Hey, girls.
Is that your next readout book?
Sure is. You're going to love this book by Josh Funk. It's not Jack and the Beanstalk, get it? Different take on the normal story, But look how small Jack is in the story compared to the giant.
Mr. Jax, what does this button do?
Wait! Whoa!
Mr. Jax, what happened?
The button made me smaller like Jack in the story. But now I have to go to kindergarten and do a read aloud with him. What am I going to do?
Don't worry, we'll get you there.
Whoa! Good idea, girls. But you better hurry up. I feel pretty squashed in here.
So I'm hoping that went through. And so in this case, this is one of our ambassadors. He was going to read this book to class, to a kindergarten class. So he created this video to sort of create some hype, get students excited about the book that we're going to read. And so hopefully what you're able to see here is how, WeVideo is able to give you the tools to get really creative. In this case, there was some green screen going on in the video, some effects, the shrinking effect, all these cool things that students, of course, can take advantage of, get excited about, and of course, ultimately showcase themselves as the star of the video, right? So there's always some excitement there too when students are able to see themselves in these videos.
Hey, Mr. Jack.
Hey, girls.
Awesome. So now, lastly here, in terms of the key areas I'm highlighting here, general media creation, right? So WeVideo isn't just for videos per se. There are different types of projects you can produce. Of course, at the core, we are videos. But here you can see on the right-hand side, I have a GIF that I created where I'm showcasing the process of doing the green screen effect. And this is something, of course, you can do on your end as well. So beyond videos, you can create GIFs and, of course, embed them in places like this, in email, things like that. We also have the ability for podcasting. So you can record yourself and publish your content, not as a video, but as an audio file to produce podcast or music or any sort of audio files as well. So you can take the tools that we give you and really get creative, not just on the video side, but on different projects or types of projects you may want to produce to share those thoughts and ideas. Now, when it comes to generating these projects, assigning work to your students, like I mentioned earlier, there are times when teachers aren't too sure how to get started. They don't know how to create a project and share with their students. They don't know how to take a project that's paper and pencil traditionally and transition it to video. So on our end, we do want to give teachers resources on getting started. The video, WeVideo itself has templates specifically for education. Here is just a snapshot of some of these. They range in topic, so it's really easy for teachers to get started. They are created so that anyone can use them, right? So regardless of your grade level, regardless of the subject you may be in, students, teachers can take advantage of these templates to get those ideas rolling, right? And then not only learn WeVideo, but also continue to develop further projects beyond the templates that we give you. Online, we also have a resource page for teachers where we are continuing to add other project ideas. The goal for us is to be able to create a library that teachers can quickly access, get a project idea. The instructions are laid out for you, and you simply just give it to your students, and then they go out and do their projects. So that's sort of where we're going next, to where we want to give teachers the tools needed to introduce WeVideo in a way that they're comfortable with, without having to do everything from scratch. So if I had time, I was planning on just playing around with WeVideo a little bit here on my end, just to showcase, what the product looks like. Here is just a screenshot of the tool itself. If anyone here has used other tools like iMovie or other editors, it's quite similar to those. We do have things like advanced features like green screen, picture-in-picture, unlimited tracks to give you really a lot of flexibility when you're editing. And we also have a multimedia section where we give you images, videos, music, sound effects, all sorts of media that's all royalty free, so that your students don't necessarily have to go out there and go to Google, download a video, download an image from somewhere. We give you tons of resources already. Again, all royalty free, all included with your account, so that they can use those along with any media they may be recording themselves and really start producing that content. So I will end it here. I'm not sure if there was any questions. I actually cannot see the question box at the moment. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer those now. Any questions here? And let me see if I can figure out how to stop sharing.
I'll go ahead and take over sharing, Joel. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
I didn't see any questions in the chat, so I don't think we have any questions yet. But again, you can use that Q&A button up in the top there to go ahead and comment and ask your questions. So Joel did share a couple links with me, and I think Joel, will you be sharing your slide deck as well so I can send that out?
Sure, I can do that as well.
Okay, perfect. So we have the slide deck from Joel. In the PowerPoint that I've curated here, he has included some links to the screencast example, the book talk, the PSA, and the teacher resources. So we'll go ahead and get that out to you guys. Again, that'll be tomorrow morning after we mark attendance, which we'll talk about at the end. Personally, one of my favorite things about WeVideo is that library that Joel mentioned of a ton of stock assets. Like he said, there's audio, there's video, there's sound effects, there's over 1 million different pieces of stuff in there. And I know myself and my colleague have used that quite a bit because we don't always have time to go out and get our own B-roll. But, you know, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. I did see a question come in there. We don't always have time to go get our own B-roll, so we can go to the WeVideo library. We can pull content in to our videos and make them really quick and easy. So definitely, I encourage you to check out WeVideo. All right, and our final presenter for the afternoon, certainly last but not least, is our innovative designer presenter. Just again, quickly, I'm going to go over the innovative designer standard in ISTE before we switch over to her presentation. So innovative designer is students will use a variety of technologies with a design process to identify and solve problems by creating new, useful, or imaginative solutions. So that can be a little bit of a blend of the two things that we already talked about, right? They have to computationally think about problems, and they have to be a creative communicator, and then from there they can design solutions. So a lot of these standards have a little bit of interplay and build off of each other. Some guiding questions you can ask yourself to make sure that your students are innovatively designing is listed here. And again, we're not going to go over those because we have just about 20 minutes left, and I want to make sure Kylie has plenty of time. But definitely check out these guiding questions and ask them of yourself, ask them of the work your students doing, and see if you're meeting these standards without even realizing it. I find that a lot of teachers are already meeting quite a few of these standards. All right, and that being said, we're going to go ahead and learn about ArcGIS with Kylie. Kylie is an education specialist, and I hope I got the right job title there, with ArcGIS, which again is a mapping tool, but with incredible superpowers. So Kylie, go ahead.
Thanks so much. Let me get my screen shared here. And let me know if you're seeing my browser window there. How's that look?
It's come through nice and clear.
Perfect. So what you're looking at right now is actually ESRI's homepage. And the only reason I'm starting here is just the stuff that Alexandria was just saying. So ESRI is mapping software. And you can see there's very little about schools on this page, right? It is the mapping software used in professional industries. But what's really cool, I think I have the best job in the world because my whole job is to give our software to K-12 teachers and help them use it, because we understand that having spatially literate students and children is what's going to help solve all the problems our world faces. So I'm going to kind of build into this a little bit. I see our tool used in a couple different phases. And so I want to start with you guys at the beginning, which is just using a map. So we have maps that exist that you can use. For example, right now, we're looking at a map about marine debris. Okay. So I can see it, I can interact with this map, I can move around. I can click on things like, what is this blue arrow? Okay, it's a cold current. Okay, if that's a cold current, I could probably make a guess about what the red arrow is, and I can check, that's a warm current. Okay, so we're learning a little bit about the ocean currents in this map. Now I can add some other information into the map over here on this side, such as some markers in the Pacific, and here's what ocean trash accumulation, there's an animation we can link out to and go look at. We can explore some information about Hawaii and the garbage patch near it and how that works. And now we can look maybe at another marker. Okay, here's where Spokane is. Now, why does that matter? Well, let's look at how garbage flows from Spokane. And in particular, we can learn that nurdles, which are some plastic pellets, get leaked, and that's one of the main areas they're produced in. So now when they leak, what happens? Okay, we can see this little line. Well, let's zoom in and get a little better sense. Oh, of course, it's following the river, right? Right on out to the ocean. Now, students can start to understand how these processes work and how materials flow, and they're starting to understand the oceans and the waterways. But why do we care? Well, there's some creatures that live here, right? There's blue whale concentrations. So let's zoom out a little again, and we can see that those materials that are flowing into the ocean and the resulting garbage that can be in our oceans is going to affect those animals. So we're giving students a sense of big systems in the universe, on our Earth, how they affect each other and how they affect the other creatures. Now, as a teacher, I know that I did a lot of clicking here that might be new to you. So what we actually provide with these maps is teacher guides. Now, one thing you'll notice here in these guides is we do tie these to science standards, and we are focused on a US audience with these documents, and so you will find that these relate to science standards in the US. And we talk about some of the learning outcomes we expect, and we take you through some questions and things to do with your students. That's kind of like what I just did. Investigating the map, understanding it, using a 5E model here to investigate this. And then we also have some tips about how exactly to do some of these things, because we know you guys have enough going on in the classroom. This is, as I mentioned, a real, it's called GIS, a Geographic Information System tool. You don't need to use the whole thing. We're going to help you and hold your hand and get you comfortable with this tool so that you can explore these maps with your class. Okay, so that's kind of phase one, using a map. Now, before I get away from that though, what if you don't want to learn about marine debris, right? That may have nothing to do with your class. Well, that pairing I just showed of having a map with a teacher guide with it is what we call a Geo Inquiry. So a Geo Inquiry is that pairing, right? You get a PDF with a link. I'm going to jump back to the PDF for a minute. This link right here is how the magic happens. When you click that link, it opens that map I was just looking at. And we don't have just one of those. So we have quite a number of collections, everything from literature to earth science, environmental science, US history, and all the way through world geography and world history. Now you'll notice one is called Upper Elementary. Don't be fooled by that. While it focuses on standards from kind of more the elementary area, we have people at the collegiate level who use some of these from the Upper Elementary collection, because we give you that guide. And you as the teacher are able to take these guides and make it apply in your classroom with small tweaks and working through this material. Or of course, you can follow the guide word for word. It's really up to how you want to work with the activity. So these Geo Inquiries are designed as an on-ramp for you. One of the important things is understanding really how to use one, right? And I've talked a little bit about it, but when you're looking at these later, you're going to find this link right here at the top of the page. And I'll be sending out links to all of these later. So in fact, you'll see a link right here for getting to know Geo Inquiries. And I already have that open. So I'm just going to jump to the next tab. And what this is, it's called a story map. And the only reason I mention that's what it is because you'll hear that term again in a little bit. But what it is it's a formatted website that's pretty easy to author, actually. Excuse me. And this one takes you through Geo Inquiries and how to use them with your classroom. It also talks a little bit about that PDF and what you'll find in it, like I was just sharing with you. And it talks about how we actually have a couple levels of Geo Inquiries and what that means. And it teaches you really quickly how you can interact with these maps, right? So you might even show this with your students if you want to put the map in front of your students and let them explore it. That's going to be up to you. Or you could run it on the big screen in front of the class. Again, a choice you can make. So this document is going to take you through all of that. And this is kind of your guide through it. And then you, of course, have the PDF that is the guide for the specific Geo Inquiry you're working on. Now, I called that phase one in map use, right? Because before we can really start to design our own maps and design our own inquiry, right? We need to kind of get exposed to some to get some examples. But now we're ready. So let's move into phase two. In what I think of as phase two is when you're going to be able to participate in some projects. So we have a site called Geo Projects. And again, I'll send you these links after. Of exactly what it says, projects with geography that you can jump in and explore. Maybe you want to look at pets that students have or favorite colors or where you find trash around your school. There's just a variety of projects in here that you can come in and participate in. Now, unfortunately, Amazon Web Services is having a glitch today. So earlier I could not load the actual project to show it to you. I'm going to try to and see if we have any better luck yet, but so far I'm guessing no. All right, so what I'm going to just let you know, those projects, what we've done is we've presented them in the same format that we taught about Geo Inquiries. So it's a story map. What's powerful about that is we can combine a bunch of information into one web page. But what I've done since I can't access that one web page is I have some of the components open so you can at least see what would be included. So in the favorite color project, let me actually jump to a different view in here really quick. This is the designing view of it. But when you're using this project, what you'll be doing is filling out this form. So this product is called Survey 123. It's a lot like Google Forms. The only difference is that you get a map and you can add location information into your surveys. So in this case, the person filling out the survey can pick a favorite color and they can place themselves where they are on the map. Now, we recommend, of course, with students, maybe put it over your school, put it over a major intersection near your home, because again, you wouldn't want to put it at their actual home. So it's a great opportunity to discuss with your students also, protecting their own personal information. And then you're able to submit this data. Now, when I submit that data, it goes into a map. This is just like that map of the oceans we were looking at earlier. I can click and see the information. Now, in this case, the only information I have is the color, and obviously that's being shown by the color of the dot, as well as the location, which is shown on the map. So clicking doesn't offer a ton more, but it's a way for students to see the information they've provided show up on a map and see where other people are giving answers. But say I was to ask you from a project point of view, so what's the favorite color? Right? That's a little bit hard to see in here, right? A map is not necessarily the best way to answer every question that you might want to solve through your project. So we do have tools called dashboards that help us take that same map you can see, but wrap some other information around it. So you can see the most recent colors that were added to our map. You can also see how many people have answered the different choices. You can see how many people have answered in all, and just different breakdowns of this information. And then you could take that information and look at it in new ways, right? Because maybe we want to see where people are answering our survey from. So this is called a heat map, where I've taken each of the dots and basically pretended it's a little light. And where there's a lot of these dots together, their light's going to be brighter. And so that's what you're seeing here. Or you could take it and want to investigate one color at a time. So again, this is my same map. I've just turned some on and off so I can look at just the colors I'm interested, or perhaps more of them. Now, what you can also do with this project is then take that and combine it. So now we can look at the purple and the pink and where the hot spots are for that. Okay, so this project in and of itself, favorite color, is pretty simple, right? But the power of it is to start students thinking about how data can contribute to questions they want to ask and patterns that they want to understand. All right, so I'm going to show another example of a story map since my other ones weren't working, so that I can give you a sense of how this might look as a complete project. And in this case, it's kind of your report now, right? You've done your work, you've investigated, and we're going to wrap all these things into one and tell the story. Now, this one in particular is about SDGs, and another person put it together. But as we can scroll through this information, you can see an interactive map and information that goes with it. So the power in a story map is I can take that map that I made through my project and wrap some text and other content with it so that I can start to communicate the results. Because solving a problem and designing a way to answer a cool question isn't the end, right? You need to communicate that. You need to share it. And so the story maps are going to help you to do that. Now, so what's phase 3, right? I kind of jumped over it actually. I got a little ahead of myself here. I get excited. So phase 1 again was just using that map, those Geo Inquiries. Phase 2 is participating in a project, whether it's favorite color or the pet survey. And phase 3 is now let's do it ourselves, right? So when we started with favorite color, I was telling you this is the design view, right? So your students or you as a class project can design the questions you want to ask to learn about a problem. Maybe it's a problem in your community. Maybe it's a project or just an observation that you want to record with location. Maybe you're monitoring temperature at your school, or in the case of making your own garbage collection project where garbage is accumulating on your school so that you can maybe suggest where to put another trash can. So now in phase 3, we've experienced enough projects that we can start to design our own. In this design, you're going to have to think about designing your data. What information do you need? How do you want to structure that? Okay. You're then going to need to collect the data and learn how to go, whether it's into your community, into your schoolyard, or observations from yourself, and get that all recorded. From there, you get to move into the map. You get to design the map. You get to choose things like, what color should the dots be? You get to choose things like, what information should display behind it? For example, I often like some of these darker maps because now my data can really shine, right? I'm not quite as distracted by the countries. And you can learn about bad examples too, right? Perhaps someone were to pick a map that looked a lot like the wall map you might be used to. This gets really hard to read. So we need to talk about some of these choices that you make and how you make the choices and how you come to good decisions. You can also choose what information is on the map because, as you can see just from all these dots, it is very easy to imagine a map with too much information. I'm sure you've seen maps in news articles and other where you're not really sure what the point is because there is so much going on, it's just hard to read. Now, of course, getting data into a map, whether it's data you've collected or, as is the case in the SDG example that I jumped to, using data that ESRI has that you can access and add to your own maps, you might want to do some analysis on that data, make some conclusions, do things like figure out where hotspots are, what the relationships are between different parts of data. And then, of course, wrapping it up into a final project, communicating these results. Maybe you're going to make a wee video talking about it, right? Maybe you're going to take a MicroBit soil moisture sensor, do some investigation, create some maps about it, wrap it into a story, and then share it through a video so that you can tell it to everyone, right? That's the cool thing with these tools, right? We can see them all working together. Now, what could you do once you've done a project? Well, ESRI actually runs a competition each year for US high school and middle school students where students do research about something within their own state, create a story map, and submit it for prizes. Now, this map is showing us what states are participating for this coming year, and California is already participating. So this is something you could get your students involved in. And again, the whole idea is it's a student-driven project. So once you've done that project design and work, there's another place to kind of make use of that work, right? Let's submit it to a competition. Maybe this is the goal, or maybe this is just an aside along the way. All right, so just as a reminder here, we are ESRI. We make mapping software. We're going to give that to you guys so that you can do cool things. Much like the other tools you've seen today, it's only limited by your own imaginations and how you want to apply it. One thing to be aware of with our software, to create these things, for example, you decide to make your own survey, you need to be able to save it. Now, to do the saving, you're going to need an account. You'll see I'm signed in here. If you just want to use a Geo Inquiry, you don't need an account because you're not saving. Our maps are free for you to use. However, to get an account and save, you guys are in luck. Your school district has already set that up for you. So you can work with the district and they will have accounts for everyone. All right, so again, let's build up the spatial knowledge of students by having them use maps, exploring, discovering, making connections. Let's then participate in some projects, adding some information, exploring the effect on the results, understanding what kind of questions we might ask that have geographic components to them. And then let's move into designing projects. What questions do you think your students might have that there's some location involved? Now, if you think about it, so much of the data and questions we ask has location as a component that I'm sure you're already thinking of ideas of where you can apply this tool. And then, of course, keep in mind that our tool can be used outside of this workflow, almost in the CTE and career tech kind of space. Because if you look at the industries that use GIS software, this is the kind of training and tool that students will be able to use in pretty much every industry and career field. Along that trend as well, we are working on a GIS certification for understanding the fundamentals and the basics that will be appropriate for some of the students going through some of the CTE and GIS tool programs. All right, that's what I have for you today. I did not check in the comments, so have any questions come in that we want to speak to?
Hey, Kylie, fantastic job. I didn't see any questions, so I think you did a great job. I did, however, use the announcement feature to post a link to the Google form. As Kylie went over, there's plenty of stuff that is free for you to use. You don't need an account or anything like that. If you do want to go next level, start creating your own geolocation-based surveys, there is a Google form that you have to fill out with our district, and my team works on getting those accounts up and going. So if you'd like an account, go ahead and use that Google form to get that account process going.
Perfect. Thank you. That was the one piece I wasn't sure what your teachers would need to do, so I'm glad you've answered it for them. Thanks.
Yep. Oops, me. All right, and I'll go ahead and take back over. If there's any other questions, again, you can post that in the Q&A. We are in the final few minutes, though, and I know the important question on everybody's mind is attendance. So there is, for this particular session, because this is a live event rather than a Teams meeting, we do need you to fill out a Google form. And I believe Armando has that link. So Armando, if you don't mind making an announcement and posting that for everybody. If you're not sure where the announcements are, look for the little Q&A bubble icon in the top corner there. You can click on that. You should see all the published questions, and Armando did just publish that attendance form. So please fill that out while I kind of review our last few slides here. Our upcoming How Do They Do That? So we have one in February. February 1st is going to go over the Empowered Learner Standard. Then we have one on March 1st, which is going to go over Knowledge Constructor. We'll have one on April 5th, which is going to go over Global Collaborator. And then May 10th will be kind of a showcase event. As a reminder, you can attend all of these. They will count towards the 0.5%. If you've already got your 6 hours for that initiative, then you can also get paid to attend. And because these are each unique sessions, you can attend each and every one and still get credit for it because each topic is different. Those are already all in the PD catalog, so you can go get signed up now, plan out the rest of the year with How Do They Do That. And we'll go ahead and see any questions that came in. Again, I need you to make sure to fill out that attendance form. That is how I will be marking attendance, so please fill that out. And then if you could also take a moment to fill out the PD feedback surveys. I believe Armando will throw those in the announcements as well. And we have literally 60 seconds left. We'll go ahead and stick around in case there are any other questions. But I do want to take a moment to thank our presenters. Libido has already signed off for the afternoon, but thank you, Joelle and Kylie, for your time today. You provided excellent resources for our teachers. I look forward to sharing all of those in the follow-up and seeing what our teachers do with WeVideo and our GIS.